All right, stay here this morning on ITV on Independent Television. Yes, if you watch Independent Television news and perhaps other news in Nigeria, you would have discovered that flood is ravaging parts of the country. As we speak now, we understand that some communities in Edo North and some parts of the country has been totally ravaged down by flood. Now, what are the issues? It's very worrisome. Getting to know that is almost an season thing now, an annual thing you may want to say. We've been having the report for more than 10 years now. Year in, year out, at this particular period of the year, we'll have communities ravaged by flood. What can we do as a people? What can the government do as a people? And of course, what can you do as an individual is what we're going to be looking at here today. Well, we are so privileged to have Mr. Frank, sanitarian, that's the word now, sanitarian Frank Inenemo, and of course he's the head environmental health desk officer on climate change to the Edo State Ministry of Health. So you're welcome to this morning on ITV.
Evans, it's always my pleasure, despite the short notice.
And of course I've got my co-anchor here with me too. Now let's quickly see one or two clips. We've got some videos, some footage that has to do with the recent flood that has ravaged, that is ravaging parts of the country. Let's see one or two clips so that it puts you in the right frame of mind as you watch this discussion this morning. That's made that has to do with the flood situation in the country. Now, we have other reports too that we're going to be showing you as we go on this show. Well, Mr. Frank Inenemo is still here with us this morning.
And I must add that some of the most affected places, like you said, aside Edo State, we must take note that some other states too, like Kogi, I must say that Kogi is what's hit in this whole situation. And other states like Adamawa, Taraba, Plateau, Benue, and the low-lying plains of the River Niger and Benue on the tributaries of both rivers. One of the most, hit places when it comes to this natural disaster.
Okay, so Mr. Frank Inenemo, when we talk about flood in Nigeria, what exactly, in your own perspective, is responsible? Because this has become an annual thing. What is responsible?
Yes, thank you, Evans. When it comes to issues of flood, I'm a bit passionate because I'm from Edo North, part of Edo North, and I know that my people are being ravaged by the effect. It has become almost an annual recurrence since 2012 till date. Well, I'm going to be as practicable
as possible,
okay, because it's here with us. It's not just an Edo State thing. It's not a Nigerian thing, like Favor said earlier. It is also has become a global problem, very serious global environmental challenge. Now, for the purpose of this discussion, let me adopt a workable definition,
okay, so
that we can thereafter progress to looking at the causes and then what are the effects and then maybe way forward. Now, you are talking of overflow of water, storm runoff, sufficient enough to spread into streets that is likely and oftentimes cause loss of precious life, colossal damage to properties, as well as impeding vehicular and non-vehicular traffic. My dear Evans, let me go further to say that mankind, we have overstretched the resources of the earth. That reminds me of the popular Swahilan proverb, which says, "August does, Do not borrow of the earth, for you will pay with great interest. We have plundered the earth resources. We have destroyed the earth resources. We have inflicted a lot of injuries on the natural environment. And what we now have is that we are paying back with interest. And that interest is, number one, we are talking today, flooding. We have other problems of desertification. We have problem of ozone layer depletion. We have problem of climate change. We have problem of
drought.
Drought, yeah, and global warming. So, what are the causes? Well, before I go into, I will end up with the issue of the Landan, Northern Cameroonian Landan Dam water release. Yeah. But I will want to go into a lot of human anthropogenic activities that has brought us to this problem where we are. Is that a global issue? What are the human anthropogenic activities? Let me start with the issue of climate change. Climate change means there is a shift in the pattern of average climatic condition. So when that shift is positive, what do we experience? We experience global cooling. But today we are experiencing negative consequences of issues of climate change, to such extent that as I speak to you, we now experience extreme climatic conditions. I have lived for more than 10, because when you are talking of climate, you are talking of weather conditions studied for over time, for not less than 30 years. Yeah. I have lived for over 30 years. And if I can recall vividly, when I was growing up, this is October. Before I entered this studio just now, it was raining very heavily. And it's still raining as if
we're in June.
We are in June, we are in July. Yeah. That's to tell you the effect. So a lot of human anthropogenic activities, first and foremost, burning of fossil fuel. That is, so we'll continue to explain it. And you find out that at the end of the day, what concerns heavy downpour those days compared to people in the north. But today is not part of them. Even this flooding is now, the Kano State, Adamawa, Taraba, they are now being ravaged, which are part of northeast. So then you can imagine we that are in the really thick forest zone, south, we are fast, worse hit. So it's a serious problem. Now, the other anthropogenic, we burn fossil fuel, we do a lot of emissions of the CFC gases, chlorofluorocarbon. We manage our waste indiscriminately. Let me calm down home a little bit. A lot of us, when it's raining, would bring out our refuse, including the non-biodegradable ones, and we throw them. And of course, what goes around comes around. A good number of us, without regard to regulatory details, we build on natural waterways. So when we build on natural waterways, what do you expect? And at the end of the day, you start calling on government. Thank God for what government is currently doing to ensure that urban development now is properly being controlled. Okay. Urban development activity is properly being controlled to ensure that some of all these things are taken off. So I think kudos to Edo State government for being proactive in that regard. Okay, now
let's look at it from another angle now, because you started by describing the flooding we're experiencing now as almost a global phenomenon, which is not far from the truth. Now, the issue here is that in other climes, in other parts of the world, you have their emergency management agencies coming up to a response in a very good time that you almost not find the effect noticeable. But here in Nigeria, perhaps in Edo State, we have, these emergency management agencies too. We have the SEMA, we have the LEMA, the SEMA at the state level, the LEMA at the local government levels and all that. But what is happening here is that it appears these authorities, they leave this natural disaster to nature itself, like what is going on now. Somebody said that by December, the flooding will be receding. How come these authorities, they don't live up to expectations the way other authorities in other climes they do?
I think I would disagree completely with you. I think so much is being done. You may not notice it because you are not at the eye of the storm. I know at the national level there is National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and this is further cascaded to state emergency management agencies and at the local government level. I think so much is being done. But the only thing I will say is that, you know, federal government accused governors of not quickly responding to earlier warning. As far as I'm concerned, that was like paying lip service to the issue at hand. Because even this current experience now, which is attributed to the Landan release of water from the Landan Dam.
Yeah.
I may not have the details, but I know that I was made to understand that there was an MOU between the Cameroonian government and Nigerian government several years back. So Nigerian government was supposed to do what? At the federal, because issues of dam is a matter for the exclusive legislative list that is left for federal government. So all I know is that federal government was supposed to have do dredging of our various waterways, the river Niger and its tributaries. You understand? Two, the federal government, from what I was told from the MOU between Nigeria and Cameroon, was supposed to have even expanded our existing dams and possibly build new dams for the reception of this water, because we are still going to experience more. I'm not predicting doom, but something has to be done, and it is beyond the state government, it's beyond the local government. Federal government has to expand the systems that dredge our waterways and then create new dam for the reception of these forms of water that comes from such releases.
Okay. It's been said that about 45,000 houses have been destroyed in this whole issue, and over 70,000 farmland, acres of farmland have been destroyed also. Don't you think this is impending hunger coming?
First and foremost,
as to food production,
I'm coming.
Yeah.
If you say 45 houses, over 45, it's even an understatement. You have not even looked at the number of houses that have been submerged, whose structural integrity would have been compromised. Those buildings can no longer be buildings any longer. You understand what I'm saying? Now, flooding itself impoverishes the soil to start with. So, don't forget my workable definition just now for flood, that it is sufficient to there be an overflow of storm water into streets, impeding vehicular and non-vehicular. As I speak to you now, go to market, you can't buy things. Go and buy price onions for 1,000 naira. They won't give you more than 6 or 7 balls. Because the route from Lokoja, where most of these food items come from, tomatoes and all other food items we depend on, they cannot find their way. Even if they have to find their way, they have to go through other routes that will make them spend more
on their way coming.
Spend more fuel, spend more energy, and at the time they got there, the cost of all those things are factored into the cost of transportation, and then prices will definitely go up.
Okay.
So I agree with you totally that there is going to be problem of food security challenge. That is very obvious. In addition to a lot of farmlands, arable land being destroyed, being ravaged by the effect of the velocity of the storm runoff.
Yeah. Now, still talking about the effects now, the attendant effects of the flooding we're experiencing now. Just like what you said, you know, we understand that Olam Farms is one of the major company that aggregates grains in the country and all that. Now, if you have ever eaten some of the local rice, they are products of Olam Farms. The chief executive officer of Olam Farms was on the media recently, and of course, he's expressing his worry that rice, as a staple food as we eat here and there, may even go beyond 40,000 naira that it sells now. The local rice that we understand is about 40,000 naira as a result of because of the fact that most of these farmlands have been destroyed. But let's look at it in another way. You talked about onion, very expensive. Because you cannot transport these items down to the city centers. But we have waters all around. What is going on? At this time, one would have thought that relevant authorities begin to think about using alternative water transportation as alternative ways of transporting these items since the roads have been taken by flood.
You make me laugh because
but it's
because I'm sure you are aware. I listen to the news item from this station.
Yeah,
that a lot of persons there was boat capsized with the high volume of water. I think it's another double in an attempt to try to save or solve one problem. You are creating a bigger one. So if you go through, it's the only option now to me that can be feasible in terms of transportation is if our rails are working. And if it's also affordable for us to go through air or cargo planes.
When you say rails,
if our rails are working to that extent where, you know, they can now help us to transport some of these things.
But the railway lines, they are on lands too?
Good, but what is the network like? How many do we have passing through Edo State or coming through Edo State? So, like you said, authorities concerned should still do their own work and see if there can be alternative means of transport to transport this. And that again goes to the federal government because issues of rail and inland waterways is part of the exclusive list. It's not on the concurrent list where, but going by the 1999 Constitution as amended, it's not on the concurrent list where states, governors can come in. It's at the level of the so a lot. The bulk, again, still stops at the turbo of the federal government. Okay.
All right, so we are going to release a number. We have that as part of the rundown, the PD. Please, we have the rundown, the numbers, the studio number as part of the rundown that you have there. So we're going to release our studio number now so that callers can call into the show and make one or two contributions as we discuss the flooding that is ravaging parts of the country and, of course, its attendant effect. Now the number is 070-83-651-320. 070-83-651-320. Maybe you live in a community and, of course, you are experiencing the flooding as it were. So please, you call into the studio line this morning so that you can make one or two suggestions on how this flooding issue can be handled. Because just like what we said, it's becoming an annual thing, year in, year out, for an upward of about 10 years now. It's been a recurrent, a recurrent thing, and it's very, very worrisome. So 070-83-651-230 is the number. Please do call into the show. Now, Favor, you've got
the economic effect of this whole situation is something that we also could look into.
Yeah.
Because sometime last week, some traders, of tomatoes that's supposed to pass through the Lokoja and the rest, they complained that it actually spent up to 6-7 days on the road. Now imagine tomatoes, passing through that long distance. And before it could get to, the point of sales, it was already, destroyed, perished. And, tomatoes is something that do not really stay too long on the road. Now, those traders right now are definitely counting their losses. And it's so pitiable that some of them were, when some of them were interviewed, actually, they said that they had to take loans. Imagine someone taking loans to get stocks from the market, and on getting to the point of sales, it's already destroyed. Yeah. That's a very great loss for traders. So I feel like, aside those who are domiciled in these areas that are flood-prone areas, some other people on the other side of town who are supposed to receive goods from these areas, have already put their money into the business in one way or the other, and economically is breaking them down. Okay.
All right, so let's have your call this morning. The number, I'll have the number on your screen there. The number one more time, 070 070-8365-1320. 070-8365-1320. Please, let's have the phone here so that we can have the calls coming in. The phone, please, can we have the phone here? Please, let's have the phone here so that we can have the calls coming in and make suggestions on how this can be handled. All right, so 070-8365-1320 is the number. Now, Mr. Frank, you wanted to make one or two contributions. Yeah?
Let me, you see, the point where we are now is for the people to be properly sensitized on all the causes so that at individual level, we'll continue to guide against them and see how the situation can be mitigated or further remedied. Let me go and talk about the way and manner the lackadaisical manner in which we handle waste.
But I beg to interfere.
You know what?
Just 1 minute, sir, because we are looking at two scenarios here. Yes. You talked about the dam, the Kenyan dam, the Cameroonian dam and all that. Now, this is not human cause now. This is not activities of humans not disposing their waterways properly and all that, blocking their waterways. This is another cause. Because the reason why we are saying this now, it appears that people are left in between what they do and what governments of nations...
Let me come in now.
Okay.
What are people who live... Why would, for God's sake, people go and live at by the waterfront? Or you're not aware that people live on floodplain areas? They build their houses on those areas. Of course, what are the hard hits now? They are. So people should be discouraged from throwing their refuse, particularly the non-biodegradable waste, into water bodies. Yes, government should do something about dredging waterways to enable us have enough space to receive this high volume of water.
Yeah, when you talk about waterways now, Mr. Frank, waterways, a part that is now a waterway now, probably was not waterway 10, 20 years ago. So I think we also need to be careful with the way we accuse how people build houses and all that.
Okay, well, our regulatory activity.
All right, we've got a call coming in now. Yes, hello? Hello?
Hello, bro.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right, so please, let's know your name and where you're calling from.
This is Mr. Francis Eledion.
Okay.
Calling from Kuba in Abuja.
All right, so we are looking at the ravaging flood in parts of the country.
Yes. You know, before independence, after independence now, all this thing has been reoccurring. What does government do? They did nothing. Even if they want to do something, they do the opposite. Like this local journal they are talking about. This problem, why can't government build overhead bridge road across Lokoja? This is possible. Then when you look at other areas, people have built buildings in waterways. Government is not doing anything about it. If you look at it, the same people in government sold those land to those people to build those land.
Yeah, but what we are but what we are saying,
collect money and approve their building.
Yeah, but what we are saying here is that a part that has become waterways now was probably not waterways, say 20, 30 years ago.
If waterways are blocked, why will water not look for alternative ways?
Very good. Very good.
These are the issues. Waterways are blocked, then water will now look for other ways to pass through.
Okay. All right, thank you. You made your point now. Zao 0, the number is still there, 070-83. You call so that you can make your contribution as we get along. Now, Favor, you got one or two things to say.
Well, I'm sure you had something you wanted to say concerning that. You were trying to make some statements.
Yes, like I said, we should come down to the level of individual, because before we get to where we are now, there was a build-up. It's a cumulative effect of a build-up of what A contributed, B added, C continued with it, and the whole thing came to a cumulative effect of what we are now experiencing. Okay, so the issue of people living in floodplain areas, people living in waterfronts, those areas, are, to the best of my knowledge, are never approved. Because there can be sea level rise as part of the effect of climate change. And if for any reason there's sea level rise by 1 meter, I'm telling you, by 1 meter, coastal areas around Lagos, even Edo, Kogi, and the others, will be in a very serious, precarious situation.
Okay, so we've got another caller on the line.
It has a lot of social...
Yeah, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is Agmole Eunice.
Okay.
Speaking from Benin here.
Okay.
I'm not affected in any way. I live on Tapley Road. But I want to say one thing. This waterway of a thing, because you said just now that somebody must have built 10, 20 years, 30 years ago. Yes, we grew up here to meet Ministry of Lands and Survey, where we have town planning department. We discovered that this part of the government, this arm of government, have never done their work the way they are supposed to do it. Because our brother is saying that those that built, they built a waterway, they expect what they see, which is very true. On the other hand, that arm of government is supposed to be doing their work. When you see me clear my side, I want to lay foundation, you want to come and look at it because you have the map in your office. To be able to know whether this place is going to be flooded in 10, 20 years' time. And when I bring my building plan to your ministry, you don't approve it. And secondly, they had the right, even if I did not do a building plan, to move from place to place and tell people don't build here, and by all means that are good, use government apparatus to disapprove it. And people will leave. But we see them taking bribe from builders. We see them
let's
advising
leave that
people
as
to
an
build the
addition
waterway, which they do very well.
Yeah.
And so we are faced with this problem now. We should equally blame, why we are saying that government is not clearing streets now, government is not doing anything about flooding area, that arm of the government, they failed woefully. They failed.
All right, so thank you.
Let me
Your
shock you. Let me shock you
yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
The use of interlocking ties. You see, nature is robust. We have taken the resilience of nature for granted. The use of interlocking ties, concreting our premises, you are reducing the surface area for natural drainage. Emissions are going on. Then these emissions form what? A blanket, and become what? Heat trappers. And they prevent the radiated energy to go back. So when they prevent, well, what happens? And then allows energy to come in. And that is the global warming we are experiencing. And there is melting of land-based ice caps that finally met and find their way to water body and swells it up.
Okay, as we
and
commence,
then by the time that happens, there is an overflow.
all right, so as we commence our descent now, what should be done now? Let's look at it, let's say from the home level first. I mean, from individuals that build houses and all that. What do you think should be done?
Well, no matter whose house is God, such building should be pulled down. Then we render post-traumatic care to flood victims. Relief materials should be given for rehabilitation of flood victims. Okay? Dredging of our waterways should continue. NEMA, this is where NEMA should come in. The activity should be strengthened.
And SEMA, LEMA, and all that?
Cascaded to state level and then to local level. Then people should avoid natural waterways. Okay. In terms of building. Okay. And then ensure that we make the environment green again. We should plant trees. Deforestation is everywhere without commensurate attempt or effort to plant. But thank God for Edo State. Edo State government came out with a policy recently. For every birthday of any school child, you should plant a tree.
Are people complying? That's the question.
For them to come with that policy, they have also put in place measures to monitor compliance. So that was a very recent and a laudable. It's not just people complying. We should see it as our own. We should see it as the environment is living, and we must jealous. We don't have any other environment.
Yeah.
That the death of the environment can lead to what? Total annihilation of mankind.
Okay. All right. So we want to say a very big thank you to Sanitarian Frank Inenemo, the head of Environmental Health Desk Officer on Climate Change with the Edo State Ministry of Health, talking about climate change and, of course, the ravaging flood situation in Edo State, parts of the country. And it's been said that we stand the risk of having increase in staple food items. As it stands now, a bag of rice, local rice, sells for like 38,000 naira, 40,000 naira, because most farms in the country have been ravaged by flood. And just as the rice farmers were expecting harvest, we have this situation. So little worry and little wonder if the price of rice is not going to go higher as the Yuletide approaches. A very big thank you to Frank Inenemo for finding time to come on the show today.